Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. Dynamic change in the history of Eternum last night as the forces of hideouts convert the rain-drenched mountain region of Morningdale. Over in rapid fashion, KOTT News were on the scene to get reactions from the victors. Would you care to say a few words about the fight?
First, we have a shout out to the goats.
A little goat spillage over here onto the Eldorado server, huh?
Yes, today we tried the Gonzalo Goats' comp this war. I wanted to try it out, something different, something new. Thought it would be exciting.
Yeah, exciting it was. Into the gates and onto the fort flag in about 12 minutes flat. How do you feel about it?
Definitely feel good about it. We were a bit surprised off the lip, just because it looked like they sent the majority of their army towards the right side, and they gave us full control of their road and bomb. I think they had something spicy set off the lip. Other than that, once we got settled, once we 1B, rotated to C, it was done. It was a done deal.
Yeah, indeed it was. Was there anybody out there who stood out in their performance for you guys tonight?
So shout out JDB, just JDB, honestly. Those guys are good, I'm friends with a lot of them. Very close friends, they came out, they helped me achieve this comp that I wanted, this comp was pretty spicy, and I needed some players, and they were out there for me, So it was a big shout out, big thanks to them.
Well, right on. Well, now that you're in control of the Northern Mountain region, what are your intentions for the hamlet and, in fact, all of Morningdale?
I think right now we're going to chill a little bit, We've had a couple of attacks now, a couple of defenses. I guess one defense. So I think we're going to chill out a little bit, relax, and then we'll see where we push next.
A closer outcome in Monarch's Bluff as Guerrilla Town forces hold out to talk about the outcome. Well, great fight out there tonight. They did get into the fort in about 15 minutes, but before we get to that, I'd like to talk about the transition onto the Bravo Point 50-50. Was there some confusion on the Alpha Charlie swing that they had going there?
I'm not sure if we just didn't recognize the split quick enough, or if people weren't listening to the caller. I will have to watch some VODs and see, but that kind of seems to be a recurring issue with us. We need to get our rotates down a lot better.
Well, you did end up settling in on the Bravo Point, and it did give you about 10 minutes outside, but they did get inside, 15 minutes, where you held for the duration. Diligent choke management, anything out there that stood out in those moments for you?
Hey, we got some new players in here that have been helping us out. Roll-up on the point having him back on point is huge. RB gave him strong because of it. He's the man, the GOAT.
Civic matter for you real fast. Once again, I got to ask, do you have any ambitions to continue to expand beyond this region on the island?
Well, John, there's a lot of counter pushers out there these days, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to push. They don't like war content, but that's all right. We'll keep defending and we'll keep holding. And they can push us all they want. If we push their territory, they're sure to push us, and we'll get a roll out of it anyways. So it should be good.
Returning to our ongoing coverage of the musical drum circle in the desert, community members were able to rally their efforts and incapacitate the mighty worm before it caused too much damage to the venue. Civic leaders are in discussion as to what to do about this new discovery in the desert, and KOTT News will bring you more on this story as it develops. With all the attention in the desert, infrastructure in the hamlet of Spyglass Ridge continues to suffer from loss of trade from Old First Light. As such, citizens are encouraged to spend their afternoon assisting the hamlet with improvements in order to prepare for what may come next. Because if things go poorly tonight, citizens may have to retreat back south after a 40% chance of corruption invasion storms across the northern rim. Another submission for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPCO. Remember, if it isn't LARPCO, it's cardboard. Tonight, the Covenant converts of OPR Esports assail the syndicate members of Beating My Worm for control of the barely controllable Restless Shore. OPR Esports returned to combat after a 2-week hiatus, checking in at the bottom of the mud hill to see how fresh their core group stability is. But Beating My Worm has been out in the desert doing exactly that, working on group communication and teamwork themselves, improving their ability to overcome adversity together. We'll have any late-breaking outcomes and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night as the Syndicate hold out against OPR Esports on the eastern restless shore. KOTT News were on the scene and got reaction from the victors, who were celebrating on their boat. There it is. You look good, man. Congratulations on your victory here in Restless Shore, mainly an outer affair. Most of the points held for most of the fight, but you did yield back to 1 point for the last 5 to 6 minutes or so. How do you feel about your outcome tonight?
We're happy about the outcome, as always, when we win a war. There's no complaints here. We're happy campers. In fact, actually, I think that would be the wrong term. I think we should consider ourselves happy sailors here on the boat.
Indeed. I see that one of the members of your company were able to get up into the crow's nest forward. Do you know how they were able to pull that off?
John, if you don't own Restless Shore and you're asking us about the secrets of Restless Shore, I mean, I know you're part of the media, therefore you're probably used to asking questions that are inappropriate and a little bit rude, but I would just suggest that you behave yourself when on our boat, lest you walk the plank.
I beg your pardon. I didn't mean, my inquisitive nature overcame my, I did not mean this breach of protocol. I apologize.
I understand your lowly station as a member of the media, and we try and provide you with good information, but I just want you to make sure you know your place here. That's all, John.
That's right. Whenever the battle for the boat takes place, I am fortunate to be able to stand on the deck here and have questions answered. I am grateful. Thank you so much for taking the time.
You know, I'm sorry, John. I got a little touchy there. I apologize for being defensive.
No, I totally get it. No problem. Oh, hey, let me ask. I forgot to. Was there anybody who stood out in their performance tonight?
Oh, I mean, I hate to do it because he doesn't need it, but Whip was on point with 0 deaths. I mean, that's pretty impressive. So I'll give it to Whip for that. That's pretty hot.
Yeah, Whip's got some talent. And speaking of talent, behind us, the E-Idols of Moon Bay getting ready to perform tonight. Are you looking forward to that performance?
Yeah, I'm a man of refined tastes, so I may not be actually in attendance to this, but I'll give props for the legs. I will say that, John.
Indeed, refined taste. I understand. An unfortunate breach in Ebonscale last night as the Invasion Response Squad continues to make adjustments in overcoming the corruption. More and more volunteers are stepping up and getting paid as the squad begins to fine-tune their defensive strategies to overcome the spice-infused enemy. No word from the Southern Observation Post and Spyglass Ridge, but KOTT News have begun our own investigations live in the afternoons. Be sure to follow along through Twitch for pop-up transmissions during the day. Turning to the weather for today, and once more civic leaders are calling on the citizens to assist in hamlet repairs while the weather is fair. Because once the sun goes down and the corruption come out, it will be another 20% chance of invasion in a regional hamlet near you. Another submission for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it's cardboard. Tonight, the Covenant converts of assail the marauders of Gorilla Town for control of the crocodile-infested Cutlass Keys. An unknown newcomer makes their appearance and aims to convert the rough and rugged region to the way of the spark. But are they in over their heads? Gorilla Town have been polishing their roster against the island's most difficult challenges for months, and seem unlikely to yield to a bunch of proselytizers. Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night as the marauders of Gorilla Town turn away the newcomers outside of Fort. However, an unfortunate breach in Monarch's Bluff last night as corruption forces invade the hamlet of Pridewind simultaneously. City officials have asked the citizens interested in assisting in relief efforts to check the local mission board outside of City Hall. There may be several tasks that you can do quickly along the way, or perhaps already completed. Returning to our top story, KOTT News were on the scene in Spyglass Ridge for a brief word from the victors after their fight.
Oh, look at this. Oh my gosh. Well, that's the problem right there. They were fighting a three-headed monster. Were you guys out there cheating? Did you have 150 people out on the defense?
Yes, we did
Oh
that.
my gosh.
We're like multi-boxing and stuff, so it was easier.
Oh my gosh. Well, let the island know that if they come through CK, they're going to have to deal with the three-headed, six-armed monsters.
Looking at the weather for today, and once more the sun will rise and shine all afternoon long, aiding the relief efforts. But then again, after sundown, the temperatures will drop, giving rise to another 20% chance of corruption invasion. Another submission for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it's cardboard. With special thanks to the Craft Services crew. If you'd like to support KOTT News, Patreon is currently the best way. Tonight, the Marauders of Hemp Hippies assault the Covenant converts of Outcast for control of the arid high desert region of Brimstone Sands. The Hemp Hippies meander into the assault camp and start a drum circle, their beat growing louder as more and more arrive, unaware of the looming danger such activities could summon. As such, the hero-worshipping zealots of Outcast have sent a noise suppression squad to break up their music festival and drive the hippies out of the desert before any worms arrive. We'll have any late-breaking outcomes and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. The citizens of Eternum may rise to the sound of minstrels performing across Eternum this morning as the second annual Summer Medley Fair gets underway. Citizens are reminded that they may pick up complimentary event tokens at participating hamlets daily. The traveling festivals can be found by following the searchlights at the usual locations around the island. Performers have already begun practicing for the big talent show that culminates at the end of the event. Citizens interested in helping with preparations and participation should speak with the maestro during dress rehearsals. But not all music festivals are authorized, as the crowd suppression zealots of Outcast sent tear gas into the hippie drum circle last night, disrupting the unlicensed music festival and preventing the inadvertent summoning of the giant desert worm. KOTT News crews were on the scene and spoke with a member of the crowd management squad.
All right, so you were able to disrupt those hippies in their music festival. They were not able to take even a single point. I noticed that you were using your gas canisters and gas grenades to make sure that they were not able to continue beating the drum and perhaps inadvertently summoning the giant worm.
They played smooth jazz, John, and nobody likes smooth jazz. You know, the top jazz of like 19, whatever. It just isn't going to happen. So, we needed to exterminate. We brought out our boomsticks, loaded them up, and, just kind of shot over the fort fences to disrupt their little party that they had.
Well, and disrupt them you did. It didn't look like there was maybe 25 to 30 members of the hemp hippies out there, maybe as hippies do. Maybe not all of them showed up on time.
Yeah. The limp hippies or whatever. Yeah. I think there was like four. I think they just had a lot of headliners, John, and our headliner was of course Panda.
Of course. Was Panda out there at one of the stages, on stage at the music festival instead, or did they just not have enough people performing?
Well, Panda's always just there in spirit, and if he's not there, we usually have him. We have him on an 8-track,
Later in Reekwater, KOTT News were called to fill in for a fallen volunteer who had lost connection during the invasion event. The action was intense in front of the keep, but the all-volunteer forces of the Invasion Response Squad were able to hold the line on both fronts. But that doesn't mean relief efforts aren't necessary, as citizens are encouraged to perform mission boards in both Monarch's Bluff and Cutlass Keys. Tune in to a KOTT special live presentation on Twitch as we do our part to help out during the afternoon. And it should be a wonderful afternoon for doing so, as the sun will once again encircle the island from above, cleansing the land with its sanitizing rays. But look out after sundown for a low-pressure cold front sweeping in from the east coast that will break land and give rise to a 20% chance of additional corruption invasion. 3 lineup submissions for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPCO. Remember, if it isn't LARPCO, it's cardboard. With special thanks to the Craft Services crew. If you'd like to support KOTT News, Patreon is currently the best way. Up first, the Marauders of Dogged Down attack the Covenant forces of Suicide for control of the rain-drenched mountain region of Morningdale. Dogged Down forces executing their right to rematch make camp outside the keep in the mountains and begin preparing for battle against their attention-divided foe. The recently rebranded forces of Suicide are considering their options for tonight, but given their choices, there's no telling who they'll opt to defend against. Meanwhile, the legendary hero worshippers of Outcast assail the Marauders of Gorilla Town for crowning kingdom of the Western Monarch's Bluff. Turning around after dispersing the hippies from their shanty town in the desert last night, Outcasts step up their game and get ready for a real fight against a real adversary. Gorilla Town are coming off an unusually low-effort defense for them as well 2 nights ago, so they also have some pent-up frustrations to unleash tonight on the bluff. Simultaneously, the Syndicate members of Commit assault the Covenant converts of Suicide for control of the island's primary oil reserves of Weaver's Fen. Indifferent to the siege timers that Suicide set for themselves, the Swamp people of Commit execute their right to rematch tonight as well, intent on reclaiming the Peat Moss Bog. Suicide with the luxury of 2 opportunities tonight, with either fight giving them the type of encounter they long for, but will they have to give up one to defend the other? Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. Dynamic change in the history of Eternum last night as the Syndicate members of PK Warband break into the history books as a standing great house. And the Marauders of Dogged Down return to prominence as ruling marauders of the region of Morningdale. Indifferent to their rapid victory, Dogged Down forces were unavailable for comment after their win. However, the Syndicate members of PK Warband were thrilled to have acquired their first hamlet to call home. KOTT News spoke with company leadership about their new role as Great House. Congratulations on your victory, my friend. An opportunistic moment for you tonight. Would you care to take us through your strategy for getting in there when they were otherwise occupied elsewhere?
Well, basically, we got some outside intel, a little heads up, and we pushed Reekwater, and we got it right after the invasion ended. We managed to squeeze it in just within the siege window, and we got that declared for today. Realistically, it should have been tomorrow, but we managed to get what we wanted.
Well, and get what you want you did. Now in control of the hamlet of Far Harbor. What are your intentions now that you're in charge here?
Well, now that we have our newfound home, we're just going to learn how to protect it, and we're going to do so. Don't worry.
KOTT News stopped by City Hall in Monarch's Bluff to discuss the decision-making by Gorilla Town, but were unable to secure an interview. However, Hideout forces were able to discuss their choice to focus on defending the Peat Moss Bog. Congratulations on your victory here in Weaver's Fen. A tough decision tonight, yielding Morningdale to Dogged Down. Would you care to take us through the thought process on that?
Weaver's Fen is fully upgraded, so we thought tactically it made most sense to protect our fully upgraded town. We've invested more money into it. It just made sense, John. It just simply made sense.
Absolutely. Well, do you have intentions to try to march back up there and possibly take it back from them?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, if as you were holding out the peat moss bog, was there anybody who stood out in their performance for you tonight?
Baboon Banana. Everybody knows him as the goated healer. He was playing light greatsword tonight, dropped the most kills in the war. Man, dude was popping off.
Returning to our ongoing coverage of the Medley Fair event, lyrical stylist Bob Ross made a surprise appearance at the Monarch's Bluff venue. However, the Medley Fair maestro did not seem to recognize him or anyone else, appearing to be a new master of ceremony, mysteriously masked as he is. As such, reputation with the event organizer begins anew as citizens make preparations for the upcoming talent show. It will be a pleasant afternoon of bug collecting and sturgeon fishing all day thanks to the diligence of the invasion response squad last night, but be on the lookout after sundown for another 20% chance of corruption invasion, spoiling the festivities later tonight. No submissions for simulated fantasy combat resolution tonight, brought to you by Peace, but we'll have any late-breaking outcomes and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. Minstrels across Eternum rejoice as the Medley Fair maestro bestows Medley Fair tokens to any performer capable of shredding on stage during tryouts for the Battle of the Bands. But you better know your triad inversions if you think you got what it takes. KOTT News crews rounded up the festival volunteers during the live stream yesterday. Be sure to follow along on Twitch for a more casual fourth wall experience. As the citizens continue to make preparations for the Medley Fair, the afternoon should provide a comfortable backdrop to some routine tasks. But civilian citizens should be mindful of the pending storms after sundown, giving rise to a 20% chance of corruption invasion. 2 submissions for simulated fantasy combat resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it is cardboard. With special thanks to the Craft Services crew. If you'd like to support KOTT News, Patreon is currently the best way. Up first, the Marauders of Dogged Down assail the syndicate members of PK Warband for control of the master fishing region of Reekwater. In the Battle of the Uncontested, Dogged Down feel they were less uncontested than the War Band, so move fast to strike at the transitional team before they're prepared to defend. But PK Warband are due-paying members of the Syndicate, getting their first defense attempt in the swamps of Reekwater. All of this was part of their master plan to get fights. Then, the Covenant forces of Hideout assault the Syndicate members of Hideouts is plural for control of the eastern archipelago of the Restless Shore. The territorial disputes of the eastern regional great houses continue in rotation as Hideout forces take a turn climbing the Mud Hill to attempt to topple the current reigning kings. But Hideouts is plural sounds grammatically awkward, if not correct, because while hideouts are plural, Hideouts is plural is also a pronoun. Or is they? Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. Dynamic change in the history of Eternum last night as the forces of Dogged Down win the Battle of the Uncontested in the southern delta of Reekwater. But the top story of the night is an unexpected interruption in the late night affair, forcing a rescheduling 2 days from now. Returning to our ongoing coverage of the Medley Fair event, citizens are reminded to participate in each hamlet's opulent gift exchange daily. Additionally, due to overwhelming interest in the shredding tryouts, the maestro has acknowledged that everyone can shred wherever they care to. Last night's invasion forces were also turned away by the unexpected downtime, so today's relief efforts should be light and enjoyable. But once more after sundown, the corruption invasion forces will return with an intent to destroy across 30% of the island.
Another submission for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPCO. Remember, if it isn't LARPCO, it's cardboard. Tonight, the Syndicate members of Glory to Hideout attack the legendary hero worshippers of Outcasts for control of the bamboo forest preserves of Ebon Scale. Glory to Hideout, apparently representing a grudge on behalf of Hideout, take up the mantle of aggressor and attempt to prove their loyalty by defeating this competing Covenant company. But the Outcasts of Ebon Scale don't care about any potential cross-factional alliances that may or may not exist. All they need to know is that Panda is Biss. Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News.